Thank you everyone for checking out this video. In this video, we're going to cover how to set up VPCs inside of the AWS platform. Now, we did a video about this before, and this video, in that previous video, that was like a year ago, I believe, or two, and the AWS platform, well, the UI has changed a bit since then. So this video is more for a refresher, not only for myself, but also for all the people who are new to AWS is maybe to basically help these guys out because I know sometimes looking at the AWS platform may be cumbersome. It may be hard to look around for things in some cases, but hey, this is what these tutorials are about. For both AWS and Azure. If you're checking out both of them, please go ahead and learn as much as you can from them, and please leave me a like and a comment on how these videos are helping you in your AWS and Azure career, or Azure career. So let's get started. So how would you search up a resource in AWS? Well, first things first, you could do it through one way you could do it is to go into the services tab right here, clicking on here. If you've been to VPCs, if you searched up VPCs before, it will come up in your recently visited area right here. You could also, with the star right here, you could add it to your favorites if you wish to do so. If you wish to, if it doesn't show up here for you, then you may need to search for it in these different categories here. If you want to look for VPCs, you can scroll down to networking and content delivery. Just click on that, and VPCs show here. Also, or you go into, you can scroll up, click on all services, and then you see how they list them in alphabetical order. So what you do, you scroll down to the V section, where it says V, right here. You should see VPCs is right there. Or you can add it to your favorites and then click on your favorites. And just so you get to it quicker, you can actually go into your click on the favorites, and it'll be right there in your favorites. Um, the way I'm going to do is one that I'm going to do it the usual way that I do it, which is the most easiest in my opinion. Also, it shows you the recently visited right here. I forgot to show you that. Um, you can actually go into the search bar right here and type in VPC. So why is a VPC so important? Because it's one of the most fundamental ways to one of the most fundamental services that you learn when you first get into the AWS platform. And also it helps with you being able to set up your own virtual private cloud within the platform. Because yes, you can use the AWS's default VPC because we already had, because you see right here, it shows that we have one VPC, and that's the AWS's default VPC that has been created for us by default. However, it gives you the opportunity to create your own VPC and customize it to however to your liking. So let's go ahead and create and launch a VPC. You can launch it this way, which I normally don't like doing it this way because it does everything for you through a script. However, we're going to do it by hand like we're supposed to. And we're going to go to VPCs right here because it was in the dashboard. That's where it saw launch VPC. But if you go to your VPC, you go ahead and click on this, go right here where it says create VPC, create, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a VPC and subnet. Actually, you know what? We're going to create everything individually. And that's one thing that we're going to do because this is something that's new where it allows you to create everything all at the same time. But we're going to go ahead and create everything individually because that is the best way for you to learn how to do this and be able to add networks, subnets, and route tables and things like that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on that. Let's go ahead and add our name, which is going to be, we're going to name it, let's try it, VPC, and I'm going to call it I'm going to call it VPC Lab 01. All right, this is VPC Lab 01. And we're going to add our CIDR block. And the CIDR block is pretty much the entire, what is the IP block that's going to be used for the entire VPC. So what is the IP address? What's the IP segment that's going to be used for the entire VPC? And what you want to do, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm just basically going off the top of my head. This is a lot of my all my tutorials are not scripted, so basically I'm just going straight off the top of my head. So Please forgive me if sometimes terminology is not correct, but please, uh, if you feel like you need to correct me, go ahead. That shows that you're learning if you have to correct me. All right, so uh, let's go ahead and do, let's say, a CIDR block of 10.0.0.0. I'm gonna do /16. Give us 32,000 addresses. I think it's 32,000. I'm not sure. That we could use within this CIDR block. All right, so it's going to create, it's already created the tag for it so we do not have to create our tag. Actually, that's what it did right here. But in the old way we used to do it, we had to create the tag name. We had to give the name of the VPC and the tag at the individually, which it still is that way. But it seems like right now in the new platform, the name also becomes the tag down at the bottom here. So that's actually very, very good. So that means we don't have to. We could that means we don't have to waste time having to do it in two areas. We can also just fill it up here, fill the name out here, and it will automatically populate down here. All right, so let's go ahead and click Create VPC. And it shouldn't take long for it to spin up, for that VPC to spin up. Matter of fact, if you go into VPCs here, which is your VPC, you see that it already spun up right here. And you can tell the difference between the two because here's your VPC right here at 10.0.0.0/16, and here's the AWS one right here, which is also in a /16, but the address starts at 172. All right, so there's a couple of things we want to do first. If you go up here to the VPC, if you go ahead, I believe it's edit host names. And yes, it is edit host names, because one thing that happens when you set up EC2 instances or other resources, sometimes they may not be populated with DNSs when they connect to the when you set up EC2 instances. When they connect to the VPC, a lot of times they do not get a host name, a DNS host name by default. So this is normally unchecked by default. But if you want to enable that so that your EC2 instances, especially if you're using your AWS test environment as a lab, and you want to just get DNSs for your EC2 instances, is just go ahead and click this checkbox right here, and then click Save. But that's pretty much it regarding the VPC. Now let's go ahead and create our subnet. All right, we create our subnet, and if you want to create a subnet, we go ahead and go right here where it says create a subnet and select our VPC, which is our VPC lab 1. I'm call it lab 1. No, sub lab 01. Availability zone, I'm going to put this in availability zone A. In the CIDR block that you're going to be using. Now, this is the CIDR block that's going to be used for this particular subnet. Now, one thing you have to make sure that the subnet that you set for your you need to make sure that the IP address net mask that you're using does not exceed the net mask for the CIDR block. So what we want to do, you want to make sure that if this is a /16, you need to make it smaller. How you make it smaller is by adding more, by basically by saying, okay, let's do like 10.0.1.0/24. And what that would do, that would give us about 251, I believe. IP addresses, I think, because I know Azure takes 5 IPs when you create a virtual network. I think AWS does the same. I do not remember off the top of my head, but the fact is that I know it's going to be probably 251. It's normally 254, but I think AWS does the same as Azure, where they use, I think, 4 IPs for their purposes only. So you might get 251 addresses. So what you're doing is you're taking 251 addresses out of this 32,000 that you have, and you're basically dedicating that to this subnet 1 for your lab. All right, so you could go ahead and add a tag here, but it already done this for us by default. So you go ahead and you could add a new subnet. You could add a new subnet here, which if you want to do that, do so. That's fine. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and add a new one. Let's add a new one here. So just do add a new, and you just basically, I'm just going to just basically copy and paste everything from up here, and just go ahead and name this lab 2. This one I'm gonna put in subnet B. Availability zone B. I'm gonna call this 10.0.2.0/24. So now I'm taking another 251 addresses from the site are block and dedicated to this subnet lab 2. Well, subnet lab, actually, I'm gonna call this subnet 2. I'm gonna call it lab 1. And I'm gonna call this VPC sub 1 and lab 1. So that's just because it's the case we create another VPC later on. We're not going to have any conflicts. This is lab 1, subnet 1, lab 1, subnet 2, lab 1. All right. All right, let's go ahead and create our subnets. Now our subnets has been created. And if you want to check to make sure they are, one way that AWS has already shown this to you. Another way is just basically clicking here and you basically see that you're just filtered by the names. You see that they're both right here. One thing you want to do, and this is just for this, you don't have to do this, but this is what I normally do when I'm doing labs. And some people, and you actually would do this in the regular environment as well, in the regular AWS environment. You check on your subnet, you go up here, you click Actions, and you go to where it says Edit Subnetting, and you want to go right here where it says enable auto sign IPv4 addresses. Because what's happening, reason why I'm enabling this is because the fact that by default, Amazon, your subnet that you've created does not automatically assign IPv4 public IP addresses. So, and you click save. And what we're doing here is having so that if we want to create a like an EC2 instance later on, that EC2 instance if we wish, we can have it so it automatically grabs a public IP, a dynamic one, but it's going to grab a public IP. And I'm going to enable that on both of my subnets. Go here, and here we go. All right, now we go to route tables. Now, what does a route table do? A route table basically gets you out to the internet. Now, what I'm going to do first, matter of fact, I'm going to skip the route table and go straight to Internet Gateway first, because we need the Internet Gateway in order to set up our route table. So we're going to go and create our Internet Gateway. Now, our Internet Gateway is pretty much self-explanatory. It allows you to get access to the internet. So we'll call this GW, I'll call it INT GW-lab1. That's just so that, like I said, this is the Internet Gateway for Lab 1. And already populate our tag for it. We're going to create. And what we're going to do, we're going to add this to our VPC that we've created. You can go ahead and click attach to VPC right here, or you click on actions, click attach to VPC right here. Both of them do the same thing, but I'm going to go ahead and attach it here. If you want to do command line, you can actually do that here if you wish to do so. But it's best to just go ahead and click on the box right here. It automatically sees that it wants to connect to. It automatically sees the VPC lab 1 that we already created. So go ahead and select that one, click attach Internet Gateway, and we're good to go. All right. So right now our VPC currently still does not have access to the internet. Our VPC currently does not have access to the internet yet. If we create resource, they would still not be able to connect out. And the reason why is we do not have a route table set up. So we're going to go ahead and set one up right now. You go into route tables, you go ahead and click create. We want, once again, we're gonna call this, I'm gonna call this RT Lab 1. So once again, select our VPC. We don't need to put in a tag, it automatically populated one for us with the name, and we go ahead and click create. All right. So now, are we done yet? No, not really, because the reason why we haven't done our subnet associations yet. Oh, so, oh no, we got to make sure we add our subnet associations. And we see that we have two subnets that does not have that is not associated with any route tables yet. So we're going to do, we're going to go here to our subnet association. Click on it. Select our two subnets, and we're going to go ahead and give them access. All right. So now our subnets have access to the route table. Now the last thing we need to do is go ahead and give the route table, give the route, give the route that we want to that allows resources that are attached to this VPC to be able to get out to the internet. So how you do that? You go on to routes, which is right here. You click edit routes, click add. We're going to do 0.0, and we want to have it so that anything that connects to our internet gateway, which is our gateway 1, which we already saw it. Let me go ahead and just do it one more time. I think I did that a little too fast, because this 0.0.0/0 just means we want to have the destination. We want anything that's on the internet, and the target that we want to select is our internet gateway, which, like I showed you before just a moment ago, it shows our internet gateway lab 1. Click on this, and then what we do is we just hit save. Now everything else is good. We're good to go. So in the next video, we're going to cover how to set up our EC2 to connect to this VPC, and we'll go ahead and test that we could connect out through the VPC, by it's setting up a basic Apache server so that we could connect to it through from the internet or ping out. All right, so I thank you for checking out this video. I will see you in the next one. All right, peace.